welcome to another episode of Couchside Conversations. I'm very excited because today, Jeff Sarti, who's our CEO, and myself, I'm the COO and CMO, are going to talk about what it means to build a modern business. And when I started here 11 years ago, we only had 18 people.
Pretty incredible.
And now we have almost 60 people. And so it's grown so much over the last decade. And when we were brainstorming for this episode, we were thinking it'd be really nice to share with the audience the things that we've done to, I think in many ways, transform our business, like establish a marketing team, expand our operations, think about growth in a new way, career pathing, culture.
Things we weren't even thinking about when we had 18 people.
We did not think that. We were just like doing what happens every day when we had 18 people.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about all of these things so that hopefully anybody listening who also has a business can maybe benefit from a few of the ideas that we've implemented.
Super excited for it.
Do you mind starting with our origin story?
Yeah.
And just how we've grown over the last few years?
Sure. And I like starting with an origin story because to so many degrees, just when you're a business owner, your origin story, it really matters, right? If you're thinking about building a sustainable story and growth story over time, your origin story and how you differentiate, it matters tremendously. And start with the firm, and then I'll talk a bit about my history with the firm, formed 40 years ago by Lon Morton, incredible guy. He passed away about 7 years ago. And at the core, his origin story, it was all around innovation. He was distinctly not status quo, not Wall Street. And he wasn't different just for different sake. He was truly different and outside of the box thinker if it was in the client's best interest to find those innovative solutions. And so for me personally, when I joined the firm about 20 years ago, the truth is I was on the search for something similar. I was a little bit more classically trained in finance and wealth management, but a little bit disillusioned in all honesty with the status quo. And I think a lot of our industry is more focused, I hate to say it, but on self-preservation as opposed to innovation. And so I was lucky enough when I met with Lon and joined the firm 20 years ago to find a firm that embraced innovation to the degree that we do, which is just really exciting and invigorating. To your last point around growth, I think it's tied to that origin story more than anything else. I think the reason we've grown sustainably and consistently over the last several decades, it is because we've kept that ethos and culture of innovation. We're never complacent, right?
Yeah.
We're always striving to add value for our clients. And if we continue to do that and exceed client expectations, growth will come, and it has.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember a story that you told me when I first started where Lon would go door to door knocking, originally before Morton, on doors selling insurance. And one day he ran across this couple and he knocked on their door and he said, "Do you want to buy this insurance?" And they said, "Oh, I'm thinking about buying a CD instead." And the CD actually made more money than what he was selling. And he sat back and he said to himself, "What am I doing here? Like, they should not buy my product. They should buy a CD. I'm going to start a firm where I can innovate and I can actually give clients what I think is best." And
conflict-free advice, which was so revolutionary at the time.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like that just launched us into how can we innovate? How can we innovate? We love change here. Maybe love change a little too much. But we love change. No, we're not.
I think, do we drive our team crazy?
We might. We always are looking forward. We can't look backwards. We look backwards to honor the past, but we look forwards to like embrace the future, I think.
Yeah, totally. So can you talk a little bit about your history? So you mentioned 11 years. Can't believe that much time has gone by. Talk about the changes that have happened over the last 11 years with the organization.
Yeah, I think the biggest change that's happened is just our client experience. When I first started, if you asked a client who's their advisor, they would say, "Jeff's my advisor," or "Stacey's my advisor." Since going from 18 to 60 people, we've really been able to expand every client's advisory team. Now they have 2, 3, 4 people on their advisory team. We have centralized investment departments, centralized planning departments. Our operations is centralized. Like, we've expanded the client experience so much in the last decade. And I'm really proud of that because it means that our clients are getting so many points of view, so much expertise. It's not just that one person you talk to and they are supposed to have all the knowledge, have all the right answers, which is just it's not really realistic in anything in life. You get a second opinion for a reason on stuff.
It even goes back to that theme of innovation. And to your point, it's not just one person giving that innovative advice. We now have a team collectively providing that advice, without a doubt.
Yeah, so I'm most proud about that. I feel like our clients are they've been elevated to get much better services over the years. And I think before, it's not that necessarily the services were not as great. They were great. Lon was innovative. He built this company to be an investment firm. But really what we did is we expanded to financial planning. We expanded it to life planning. And I think that that's where all of the other team members come into play too.
That was a huge change. You're right. Yeah.
But in doing so, we've had to spend so much time like building a new infrastructure for the firm. At this point, we have 13 people on our leadership team. That's 25% of our organization that's responsible for directing, managing, leading people, career pathing. We've had to add different programs like the Admired Leadership Program, which is a training and development program that teaches people how to be good leaders, the behaviors of leaders. And actually, I'll give an example. In one of the modules, they actually have the story of a CEO who had the best strategy in the world, but every day when he came to work, he didn't leave the door open for people. He just like walked through the door and then let it slam in people's faces. Yeah. And after 6 months, they fired him as CEO because he didn't leave the door open. And the reason being, nobody respected him.
Totally.
But don't worry, you don't shut the door in people's faces.
I'm wondering where this is going.
I think that you're actually the CEO that like opens the door, invites someone into their house, makes them a margarita, and then picks up their plates when they leave. So don't worry, you're not on the brink. But the Admired Leadership Program teaches our leaders the behaviors of leadership. So how to give feedback, how to hold people accountable, how to behave like a leader. And I think that's been transformative. And the other thing we've had to do is institute new technology for training and development. So we have something called Morton Wealth University that's our online training modules that has everything from better organizational skills to how to open an account and so much more. I think we have hundreds of videos now for training and development purposes. It's been a lot to expand the company to where we are today, but it's also been really exciting. And I feel like we've been able to give so many people more career opportunities and then be able to help so many more clients over the last decade too.
I love that you walk us down that memory lane. That change has been fun. It's been a lot of work, but it has made us better over the years, without a doubt.
Totally. Well, I just talked about where we've been. Maybe we can talk about where we're going. Like, what are your thoughts on growth and the next steps for Morton?
Focus, without a doubt, is on growth. And even just revisiting that story that you just told, that was not always the case, right? Call it starting about a decade ago and through those next few years, our focus was on infrastructure, building the foundation, investing in technology so that we can ultimately scale for growth. But we did get to that point. And so in recent years, without a doubt, the focus has been growth. And of course, all companies want to grow, right? I mean, that for the obvious reasons. But for us, we're not looking to grow just for growth's sake. We're looking to grow in the pursuit of being better, both for our clients on the one hand, helping to provide better expertise, service, et cetera, but also, to your point, for our teammates on the other, for them to have career opportunities. Starting with our clients are looking to us to provide them advice and expertise. The only way to do that excellently is if we have really talented people within the organization. And the only way you can retain and incentivize talented people, it's through growth, right? Talented people don't want to be part of a stagnant organization.
No, it's boring. It doesn't change their stars.
No, exactly. Exactly. Similarly with clients, we have to continue to innovate. We talked a lot about that, invest in expertise, knowledge, but also you even mentioned technology. Technology has become ever more expensive. You see the checks we're writing on a yearly basis, upgrading softwares, you name it. That again, it's only possible if we're growing as an organization. Now, on the people side, growth is, again, so crucial because our people, they're looking for promotion opportunities. You said, I love the words you used, change their stars. Again, that's only possible if we're growing as an organization. They don't only want to grow financially. They want to grow intellectually. They don't want to be bored, stagnant. So they want to learn. Again, that's only possible through growth. And the last thing I'll mention just with regards to our people, it's true ownership. We are really passionate about having a lot of owners, actual equity owners within the organization. A lot of our teammates are owners. But again, if you're a sideways moving organization, stagnant, those equity opportunities just won't be there. So for all of those reasons, growth is just such a big focus of ours.
I love that you mentioned the equity part. We love having expanded ownership. We do not want to be like the king and queen on high, dictating to the whole firm on what to do. Like 25% of our team are owners, 25% are on the leadership team. Like the more we can expand the organization to really empower people to lead teams, lead departments, lead clients, I think that makes it a more resilient organization.
And more fun. I mean, truly, I mean, it's just not us in our own silos, strategizing, et cetera. We're really collaborating with teammates that we love to work with. It's more of a collaborative, invigorating experience.
It's fun to come to work every day. That's our goal. So we're a 42-year-old firm. That's very long. So it feels like, as we've been talking, we're doing a lot of things that a very established firm would do. But it also felt like in 2017, when Lon passed, we almost pressed restart and asked the question of who do we want to be? And so in some ways, we feel like a very young firm that just started. What advice would you give for business owners that are in that like entrepreneurial, elevating their business phase?
Newer stage, yeah. Couple things come to mind. One is every firm is going to obviously have a vision around what they're trying to accomplish. And of course, that often starts with the leadership team or often the owner or the CEO. I think it's so crucial to put pen to paper, right? Don't just let that vision stay in your head for a few reasons. One is it's important for yourself to exercise that muscle and be disciplined and be precise. Because through putting pen to paper, you potentially will realize maybe there's some trade-offs that you didn't realize if it just lived in your head. And so I think that discipline's important. But even more importantly, creating that vision is just more important for your team. Your team wants to know that they're rowing in the same boat together. Where are we going, right? They want to be purpose-driven, right? They don't want to just be focused on their own career. They want to be part of a bigger picture, which makes all the sense in the world. So if you have a vision that's clearly articulated, that obviously will inspire your team. That's the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing, especially with a newer organization where you only have a handful of people, is how to deal with cultural issues. Every firm has them, and specifically cultural disruptors. I mean, like bad apples within the organization, people who are disgruntled. And every organization has them. And couple things come to mind. One is deal with it head on, right? Don't just sweep it on under the rug and let it fester, or else it'll grow over time.
That's not good.
You really have to problem solve and get ahead of that. And a couple of strategies. One, it's a balancing act between, on the one hand, sometimes you have to trust your instincts and make the hard decisions. And I hate to say that, but sometimes you have to transition from people, and that's not fun. It's a part of business.
Sometimes we talk about it as choosing the team over the individual, and that has to happen sometimes in business.
Totally has to happen.
Yeah.
The flip side of that argument, though, is sometimes there's more going on that maybe is resulting in that culture of disruption that actually has less to do with that individual him or herself.
That might be the symptom, but there's a bigger cause.
Correct. That bigger cause could be potentially that individual doesn't have clarity around their role, right? Maybe it's not clarity around promotion opportunities. Goes even back to the vision. Maybe the company doesn't have a clear vision, and so they feel like a cog in the wheel, and that becomes unsatisfying over time. So I think with all of these things, it comes down to clarity, transparency, open communication that can help us solve a lot of these problems. The last thing, totally different topic, would be around building a network, especially if you're a young organization with only a few people. You need a lot of help. You're wearing a lot of hats, but sometimes you can't afford to make that next hire. That's why building a network is so crucial. So if you think about even just a simple example, let's assume a simple business like opening a hamburger stand, right? How different it is today compared to 30 or 40 years ago. How much more complex. Everything from how are you going to structure that business? Are you going to have a retirement plan for your employees? The ticketing system. It's not just a cash register up front, right? You have a technology ticketing system for your orders. Think about marketing, right? You deal with marketing, right? Website, digital marketing. So many things that a business owner who just wants to open a simple hamburger stand now has to think of. That's really only possible if you have a deep network to really rely on.
And for them to refer people in, for them to give you that advice. I even think about our team. I'm sure that we could pull the statistic, but I would guess that about 25% of our firm came from an employee referral or a network referral, right? Like about a quarter of our firm is,
it's
exactly.
A great point, something you didn't even think of.
Yeah, so just even understanding how talent comes to you, I think is probably through the network as well.
Yeah. Great example. All right, so I talked about newer organizations. Can you talk about more established organizations? What should they be thinking of?
Yeah, I would probably just simplify it to two things that I'd recommend. So number one is never forget that your goal in the client experience is to create raving fans. You want your clients to completely feel taken care of no matter how big you are. You don't want them to come to you and say, you're a big company now, I'm now a small part of it, I'm going to be left out. Like that's the nightmare. That's our nightmare, I think. I think we want people to feel that way. And it's one of the reasons that you and I still work with clients. So we both have a handful of clients we work with because we want to actually feel firsthand what's that experience. Do they feel cared for? Do they feel like their questions are being answered? Are any of our marketing materials confusing? We ask these questions to the clients that we work directly with. And I think that that's really helped us to make sure that the client experience doesn't ever go to the sideline while we grow the firm.
I love that you brought that up, even about how we serve an advisory role for that purpose. I just listened to a podcast the other day where it was actually talking about a restaurant owner, but this was a lots of chains. And he said he still spends time at the front of the house, as a waiter at times, in the back of the house, at the kitchen, washing dishes. He still, throughout the course of a year, will spend a day or two in each role just to touch and feel that viscerally because it ties to the client experience. He wants to be so in tune with that. So
it's so hard to know if you're just removed from it. Like I even find, wearing my COO hat, that I'm able to find like operational things that can be done better just because I had to put the request in because it was for my client, right? So I think that that's really important. The second thing is I would always pay attention to what's happening in the world around us, whether it's in your industry or outside of your industry. And I'll give just 2 examples. So a lot of financial advisors are not on social media and are not investing into their marketing teams because they feel that that's not necessarily where their clients are, but they forget just one like fundamental human behavior, which is Google. People meet you online before they meet you in person. And so what is said about you online matters. And somebody Googles you or they Google me, there's actually content and material and they get to know us and they can meet us and they can understand our vision and who we are and they can decide if they like us or not.
You're scaring me. I haven't searched my name on Google in a while now. I'm like, I'm going to go do that after this. Yeah.
But this is something that's really important. And so we've invested a lot of time and energy into our advisors and their online presence and just making sure that that narrative is what we want it to be. And I think that that's really important.
Love that.
Another example maybe of staying ahead of the times is just what's happened over the last 5-6 years in hybrid work, right? I think the world in general has been asking these questions over, is remote right? Is hybrid right? Is in-person right? And these are all questions that you and I have spent many hours talking through. And for a little while, we had hybrid and remote, and then we kind of backed out of that because at the end of the day, this business is an apprenticeship business, meaning like the best way for us to develop talent is for them to sit right next to the advisor and learn directly from them. But we couldn't just like go back to the office full time because that's also not what's happening in the world. We had to layer on some flexibility. Like if people want to coach soccer, they can leave early to coach soccer a few days a week. If they want to go work remotely for a week in Hawaii, they can go do that for a week in Hawaii. We try to stay on top of it because we fundamentally know that the amount of time that we invest externally into our clients has equal amount of time has to go internally into our team and our people. And so I would say for businesses that are established, they really need to ask themselves the question, do I have raving fans? And if I don't know the answer, should I spend some time serving tables? Or what's happening in the world around me, industry or not, and how should I adapt to the more modern times?
And be flexible. One size does not fit all, right? Like you even gave the example of us. It's not quite in office. It's not quite hybrid. It's sort of something in between that worked for us. So every business is different.
Yeah. So I mentioned raving fans. I know what's really important to you is that we have clients that love to work with us. And so what makes a happy client?
It's a bunch of things. The first thing that comes to mind, and it is so simple, it's just responsiveness. Just getting back to clients when they reach out. We all know how frustrating customer service is these days, right? You're on the call with the random 1-800 number for an hour, and then you hear the click and you got disconnected, right?
That's the worst.
Devastating. That just happened to you recently, the other day. So it's just getting back to clients very quickly. Now that does not mean we give them an answer right away. It's just that they know they were heard and we'll get back to them by a certain date with the answer. So that's just step number 1. Another thing that comes to mind is our expertise. We provide advice. So again, it goes back to the conversation we had around innovation, never being complacent in the advice we provide. Our world is very complex, always changing. So when you think about financial planning on the one hand or investments on the other, always challenges, always new opportunities. So we have to continue to find new solutions for our clients to meet and exceed those expectations. The last thing that comes to mind would be really the relationship itself. It's so important that they know that we care about them. And that care has to be genuine and hopefully it's mutual. It's so lucky that we are in an industry, and I think it's very rare, we're in an industry where we're often one of the most important relationships in a client's life. That's pretty amazing to be able to say. So one, that's fulfilling for us as employees of our organization, that we can come to work and be able to say that every day. But I think our clients feel that as well. And so with those deep relationships, I think there's a tremendous sense of, hopefully, knock on wood, fulfillment that our clients feel.
I love that you brought that up. I mean, for so many of my clients, I feel like they're my friends. Like I care about them in the same way. When the tragic instance happens, I'm on the phone crying with them. Like these are the things that I think are important. It's important that we are invested in their lives. And because we're a trusted person that they can call, we actually get to see one of the things people feel the most vulnerable about, which is their finances. And I think because we see their finances, it opens us up to be that person that they can share anything with.
Yes.
And so one of the things that you and I talk a lot about is just making sure that we have an advisory team that can truly be that like counselor for our clients too.
It's a wonderful but very important role we play in our clients' lives. A lot of responsibility associated with that. So last question. We, in the last year or so, we've launched a new service offering. We call it Modern. It's tied to helping young earners in all their various choices and challenges. So around that theme of modern, how would you say your focus is with relation to modernizing our own business?
Good question. I think the first thing I would share is just our investment strategy. I feel like the way that we approach our investments is a modern way to invest, meaning I speak to your heart.
I love that.
The reason that I say that is because historically speaking, people could only have gone in stocks and bonds. That's all that's in their 401k. Sometimes there's a little like real estate or gold position in your 401k, but for the most part, they're limited to public securities. And I think that the future of investing, and we believe the future of investing, is that there's a lot of things that you can invest in.
There really are.
You just have to put the work in to find them and source them and do the due diligence on them. And so the more we can give our clients access to more investments that we think are going to be resilient in most markets, that's our goal. In fact, I often say that one of our biggest goals is when people are watching the news and they're watching the headlines and they're starting to feel that anxiety build up, we want that to be not related to their portfolio. Like if you watch the news, I don't want you to be worried about that affecting your investments. And so I think a modern way to invest is to figure out how you de-risk the portfolio by investing in a lot of things that behave differently from one another and differently from the general economy.
Yeah, that's great. It's a very powerful thing to say, to separate what's going on in the economy from your investment portfolio, but that's what we, without a doubt, strive to do.
That's our goal. We want people to sleep better at night.
Yeah.
The second thing I would probably say is that we've done a good job of modernizing the team. So our firm is about 50% men, 50% women.
Very unusual in this industry.
Yeah, I think the statistic is that only about 20% of advisors are female. So that's very rare, and we have about 40% of our advisors are women. And so I feel really proud of that. I feel like we've done a really nice job having diversity of thought in our organization, and I feel like it's really important as we go into the future. I want clients to feel comfortable working with anyone in the organization, and I want to have enough people that we can find the right pairing for any client too.
It comes back to even the original theme we talked about around innovation, creativity. One of the reasons that that's possible in our organization, I love the term you use, diversity of thought. We have it, right? Not only in terms of male, female, diversity of experiences. So many of us, the two of us even included, did not have finance backgrounds, have come from different industries. So there's just, again, a real true diversity of thought and ideas. Yeah,
totally. I guess the last thing that I would just share is I also think that we've like modernized our approach to leadership. It used to be 10 years ago that you just did whatever your boss told you to do, and that's not how we operate here. We have career paths with our team members every 6 months. We check in monthly to make sure they're on their way for their goals. We are actually engaging with our people on a daily basis. Culture matters very much to us. We want people to say that they love coming to work, and so we will do whatever it takes for that to be true, because ultimately we know that happy people take care of clients and make happy clients. And so we think that investing into our team and into our clients in an equal fashion really produces, I think, the best business that we can both run.
Yeah, so well said. And I have a smile on my face too, because it just, again, we want a fun place to work where we're all in it together. And that's what we're trying to cultivate here.
And it gives you good vibes, and you just like want to be here. You want to be in the hallways. You want to hear the laughter. And I think that's our goal.
Totally.
Okay, so we have a very fun game that we play in Couchside Conversations called This or That.
Yep.
So are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay, thank you so much for that conversation.
That was fun.
So we play a very fun game here called This or That. And I'm going to ask you a question, you're going to ask me a question, and you just have to like, what's the first thing you think of? Okay.
Got it.
All right. Would you rather have a 60-person firm or a 15-person firm?
Okay. Knee-jerk answers, definitely 60, partly because that's where we're at now and it's fun. There are pros and cons to both, right? 15 has its own benefits. You're scrappy as a young organization. Everyone wears lots of hats. There's a lot of spontaneous collaboration with a small team. So that's fun. But where we're at today, 60, there's so many more capabilities that and investments you can make to become better. We have a deep team. You hit on that before. The deep team, the infrastructure, the support that we even have internally.
More friends too.
More friends. So I'd say without a doubt, 60 people.
Sounds good.
All right, marketing. Put your marketing hat on.
Okay.
Boots on the ground marketing or digital marketing?
It's like the past versus the future. I would probably, can I say both? That's cheating.
You always say both. You always say both.
So I mentioned people meet you online before they meet you in person. So I think that's important. But I also think that digital marketing is more effective when you have relationships. And I think relationships are the core to growth. And if you invest into people and you authentically care about them and you can help them in their lives and you identify ways to serve them better, I think ultimately that leads to more and more growth. And so I would say that from a marketing perspective, I would focus on relationships first.
It does sound like both.
Don't forget your online profile.
Maybe it's in that order then. Boots on the ground first, but then digital to support them, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, another question for you. Okay. Do you prefer hybrid work or in-person work?
This one's a slam dunk for me. In-person work. And listen, everyone's different. So I acknowledge that. Like many people can work well at home and find fulfillment at home. For me, I need the energy of the office. I need to be able to collaborate, joke around in the office, have debates one-on-one with people. So that's for me personally. That being said, also every industry is different too. So there's some industries that work really well in hybrid or remote environments. But ours it's just not one of those. You hit on the term apprentice. We are in an apprenticeship business, as you mentioned previously. The only way that young advisors can grow into experienced advisors over time, it's in office, right? You can't learn that on Zoom.
I knew you were going to answer it that way. I think both of us, like if we would veer towards introvert versus extrovert, but we actually get energy from like doing the thing together in the office. Totally.
All right, one last question. Culturally, when you're thinking about office environment, foosball or ping pong table?
The reason ping pong is like more people can be involved in ping pong. Like foosball.
Just the one-on-one?
Yeah, you like keep elbowing people. It's a whole thing.
It could be 2-on-2, true. But it gets violent.
Yeah, I feel like I want an oversized ping pong table, and then I want to play a game called Around the World Ping Pong, where like you run around the table and then you hit the, anyways. Ping pong is the answer to the question. Okay, good. Thank you for watching another episode of Couchside Conversations. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed the discussion today, and we'll see you next time.
Wow.